Listen to the wind of the year 2026, and you will hear a sound that is both deafening and utterly meaningless. It is the sound of 8 billion souls all trying to speak at once, all desperate to be heard, all shouting their opinions, their grievances, and their trivial observations into a digital void that has no bottom. The world has become a frantic, neon-lit marketplace of loud, cheap, and hollow words. People believe that by speaking more, they are becoming more. They believe that if they are not announcing their presence every waking second, they will somehow cease to exist in the eyes of their peers. But Christopher stands before you today to reveal a secret that the modern world has buried under an avalanche of useless noise. When you speak without purpose, you are not communicating, you are bleeding. You are leaking the very life force, the internal pressure, and the strategic mystery that constitutes your true power. Every unnecessary word you utter is a crack in the fortress of your soul, a small betrayal of your own sovereignty that invites the world to peer inside and see that there is nothing but air. A man who cannot control the movement of his own tongue will never, under any circumstances, control the direction of his own life. In this age of instant reactions and constant updates, the most powerful man in any room is never the one with the loudest voice. It is the man who has the iron discipline to remain silent while the world reveals its hand, piece by desperate piece. Silence is not a vacuum, it is an accumulation of latent strength. It is a strategic pause that allows the blinding dust of chaos to settle so that you may see the path ahead with absolute, terrifying clarity. Think of your words as rare, ancient gold coins minted in the secret depths of your character. If you throw them at every passerby on the street, if you waste them on every trivial argument and every passing trend, you will soon find yourself spiritually and strategically bankrupt. Most people you see in 2026 are spending their internal currency on things that have zero value, empty debates on a glowing screen, endless justifications for their own mediocrity, and hollow promises they have no intention of keeping. But the architect, the sovereign individual who builds for eternity, understands the profound economy of silence. He knows that a single word, spoken at the perfect, crystalline moment, with the weight of 1,000 silent hours behind it, can move mountains that a lifetime of frantic shouting could never even shake. Christopher tells you today, reclaim your mystery. Stop the endless process of explaining yourself to those who are not equipped to understand the language of your soul. Stop reacting to every provocation like a mechanical puppet on a digital string. When you master the art of strategic silence, you stop being a target for the world's noise and you become a predator of opportunity. You become the quiet observer who knows that the loudest person in the room is always the most vulnerable, for they have already revealed everything they have and everything they are. The year 2026 demands an immediate response to everything, regardless of how insignificant it may be. It demands a like, a comment, a share, or a take. It demands that you take a side in a conflict before you have even had the chance to understand the battlefield. But the man of true wisdom knows that the greatest strategic advantage in life lies in the delay. While the masses are rushing forward to be heard, tripping over their own tongues in their haste to appear relevant, the observer is standing back in the shadows, gathering data. He is watching the micro-expressions of the loud, he is listening to the subtle tremors of fear in the voices of the arrogant, and he is mapping the hidden agendas that reveal themselves only when the air is perfectly still and the ego is left to wander. Christopher has lived through decades where silence was not just a preference, but the fundamental difference between a king and a commoner, between a master and a slave. When you are silent, you become a mirror. Most people are deeply uncomfortable in the presence of a man who does not fill the air with useless chatter. To ease their own rising anxiety, they will begin to speak more. They will ramble, they will brag, and eventually, they will reveal their secrets, their insecurities, and their fatal weaknesses. They will hand you the keys to their own defeat simply because they cannot endure the psychological weight of a quiet room. Silence is your laboratory, and the world is your subject. Do not interfere with the experiment by opening your mouth too soon. Let them speak until they have nothing left to say, and then, only then, will you know exactly who they are. There is a profound, almost forgotten dignity in being a man who is not easily known, a man whose thoughts are not for sale on the open market. In a world where everyone is an open book with every page exposed to the wind, you must choose to be a closed archive, accessible only to those who have earned the right to enter. In 2026, transparency is often nothing more than a fancy word for emptiness. When you reveal everything about your long-term plans, your deepest dreams, and your internal struggles, you are dissipating the very energy required to achieve them. The fire of ambition, much like a physical fire, needs a closed furnace to reach the staggering temperatures necessary to forge high-grade steel. If you constantly open the door to show everyone the pretty flames, the heat escapes, the pressure drops, and the metal of your resolve remains soft and useless. Christopher reminds you that your most sacred goals should be kept in the dark, nurtured in the sacred silence of your own iron resolve, until the results are so massive, so undeniable, that they speak for themselves. You do not need to announce your arrival to the world if the ground shakes when you walk. Silence protects the integrity of your vision from the corrosive influence of small minds and the poisonous envy of the mediocre. It keeps your power concentrated, focused like a laser beam rather than scattered like a flickering flashlight. A man who speaks constantly of his plans is seeking the cheap dopamine hit of achievement without actually doing the grueling work. A man who is silent is doing the work so he can let the achievement do the speaking. Be the latter, and you will become a legend. Look at the surface of a great lake during a violent storm. It is chaotic, broken, and reveals absolutely nothing of what lies beneath its churning surface. But when the wind finally dies down and the water becomes perfectly, unnervingly still, it becomes a portal to another world. It reflects the infinite heavens and reveals the hidden depths of the earth. This is the state of being you must strive to achieve in the coming months of 2026. When the social, political, and economic storms hit, and they will hit, the masses will be whipped into a froth of panic and loud, frantic desperation. They will act out of primitive fear and they will speak out of profound ignorance. But you, the architect of strategic silence, will be the still water. Your silence is not a lack of action, it is your anchor in the storm. It tells the world that you are not moved by the temporary or the trivial. It tells your enemies that their arrows are landing in a thick fog they cannot hope to penetrate. There is a terrifying, almost supernatural power in a man who can look directly at a crisis and say absolutely nothing. It suggests a level of preparedness, a depth of internal peace, and a strength of character that the loud can never comprehend and the weak can never mimic. This is not the silence of the cemetery, it is the silence of the fortress in the final seconds before the counterattack. It is the breath held before the heavy strike. It is the absolute, crushing presence of a mind that has finally mastered its own impulses. We are concluding this lesson today, but your practice of silence has only just begun. As you step back out into the neon-lit, screaming frenzy of the year 2026, remember that every word you withhold is a quiet victory for your soul. Every reaction you deny to those who seek to provoke you is another brick in the rising wall of your internal sovereignty. Christopher sees the man you are becoming, a man of weight, a man of mystery, a man who knows the immense value of his own breath and the power of his own focused attention. Do not let the world's noise become your noise. Do not let their frantic pace dictate your rhythm. Keep a part of yourself that is always in the shadows, always watching, always measuring, and always waiting for the perfect, unmaskable moment to act. When you do finally choose to speak, after hours or days or years of silence, let your words be like a thunderclap in a perfectly clear sky, unexpected, undeniable, and impossible for anyone to ignore. The Duke is watching the silent ones, for they are the ones who truly change the course of history. Christopher is walking among the quiet, for they are his true students. The world belongs to those who have the courage to be still while everyone else is running in circles. The architecture of your destiny is now silent, but its foundations are deeper and stronger than they have ever been. You are no longer part of the noise, you are the silence that contains the music. Stay sharp. Stay focused. Stay silent. The true master is the one who says everything by saying nothing at all. The future is quiet, and the future is yours. Go forth, and let your silence be your strength.